Hey folks, Will Brink here, brinkzone.com. I'm going to cover an important topic here today. I think a lot of people get some benefit from regarding vitamin D and how to get the most from vitamin D. Vitamin D, of course, got quite a bit of attention over the last few years, or actually longer, but a number of years, because it is strongly associated with a lot of health benefits. I'm not going to go down the list of those benefits. You either are aware of them. If not, if you need to look at the list, I will link that below this article, below this video, which is going to go in more detail. It will also have the study that I'm going to refer to in this video, and so forth. So if you're not completely aware of the benefits of vitamin D, you can go look it up. But most people, I think, watching this are well aware that high vitamin D levels, or at least healthy vitamin D levels, via 25-OHD testing are associated with a lot of health benefits, anti-cancer, immune strength, and anti-inflammatory, and so forth. Vitamin D has come on the radar again with this whole COVID situation. And the reason for that is a number of studies, I think at least two, if not three, pretty large studies, again, found a strong correlation between healthy vitamin D levels and low mortality rates, reduced complications, and so forth from COVID. So it behooves people, obviously, to, I would say if the data is accurate, which it probably is, having healthy vitamin D levels is really a benefit. All around, but specifically to COVID, but all around. So the issue, though, is how do you get the most from vitamin D? And there's a really important point that has to be discussed, which we're going to briefly. I'm not going to get into all the details. I'm going to try to keep this simple. And for those that want to get into pathways and the study and so forth, you'll just have to go to the article, because otherwise we'd be here all day and people would fall asleep and get bored. So the issue with vitamin D, like I said, getting the most from vitamin D, is that vitamin D itself, vitamin D2 and D3, are not actually, they're not the metabolically active forms of vitamin D. Vitamin D has to go down the enzymatic pathway and is converted into metabolically active forms, and then does its various benefits and goes down its various pathways. All of those major enzymes require magnesium to perform, to do its job. For example, so basic vitamin D2, D3, there's a hydroxylase enzyme that requires magnesium to function, to do its bit. It then is converted to 25-OHD. Now, 25-OHD is basically what they will test you for if you go to get your vitamin D status at the lab. That's basically the standard lab test for it. There's others, but that's the one that most doctors and people will use. The 25-OHD then has to go through 4 more enzymes. These are Cytochrome P450 enzymes. This is done in the liver and the kidneys. Excuse me. Got a frog. All of these enzymes, again, require magnesium to do their job. Without magnesium as a cofactor, it doesn't process, doesn't happen. So the problem here is that, as most people might be aware, that vitamin D deficiencies are actually fairly common, but it's a lot more common? Magnesium deficiencies. Studies find about 80%, and that's not a small number, that's a huge number. 80% of the population is magnesium deficient. Now remember, that's deficient, that's not like borderline. So it's not like 80% are deficient, the other 20% are okay. You're obviously even going to have another percent in there that are borderline. So needless to say, the number of people with adequate with magnesium status is very low. Without adequate magnesium, vitamin D does not function. So it actually answers a fair number of questions. For example, there are a group of people that I've actually worked with myself, but you can see in the literature, that are able to take an incredible amount of vitamin D3 and nothing happens to their blood work. Now, there's probably a number of factors due to this, but the main one is probably their magnesium status. But there have been a number of studies. I think there is some racial differences between how much vitamin D some people require to get adequate levels. But again, there's even a syndrome known for people that are completely resistant to vitamin D therapy, and they give them magnesium and it works. So knowing that magnesium deficiency is basically ubiquitous, at least in the US population, you must have magnesium for it to function. Obviously, this is a linchpin here, essential aspect of getting the most of vitamin D. So I really recommend anybody taking vitamin D. I consider magnesium sort of one of those no-brainer supplements that just about everybody will benefit from. So, I mean, why is everybody so low in magnesium? The answer is multifactorial. It has to do with food processing. It has to do with obviously what we choose to eat, our diets. It has to do with a number of factors of our calcium magnesium ratio in our diets are also very off in the U.S. We tend to get a lot more calcium than we may require compared to other minerals, especially magnesium, but of course potassium. So there's a number of reasons as to why the population is so deficient in magnesium. So the most common magnesium form that I take, that the data is pretty good, is fairly inexpensive, is magnesium citrate, but there are other forms that you can look into for sure. Let's see, dose-wise, it's not that easy to say, to just give a blanket dose, but 200 to 300 milligrams a day of elemental magnesium. When I say elemental, remember, for example, magnesium citrate is not all magnesium. It's actually a large part of it is citrate. So you actually have to look at the label and see how many milligrams of magnesium citrate, gluconate, whatever, you have to take to get an elemental dose. So 200 to 300 milligrams of elemental magnesium should probably do it, but you can definitely go higher. Again, magnesium is something that's not a more the better mineral. I mean, at 400 milligrams, 600, of course, milk of magnesia is well known, of course, for causing diarrhea. And of course, if you take too much magnesium, again, you could end up skewing your magnesium, potassium, sodium ratios and stuff, and ending up with some issues. So it's not something you just want to pile up on. But generally speaking, you'd be perfectly safe in the 200 to 400 milligram range. So hopefully I explained this, as simply as I could. Bottom line, however, like I say, vitamin D will not function. You are not going to get this downstream enzymatic pathways to get the metabolic active forms without adequate magnesium, and magnesium deficiencies are literally almost universal in the U.S. So I think that's about as clear as I can make it. Make sure to like this page and subscribe. I haven't been saying that lately in my recent videos because I've just been really concentrated on getting some of this new science out and that type of thing. So I used to say in all my videos they were more professional, but frankly, these days I just want to turn on the camera and make a video. So hit the likes and follow it, please. And if you have any questions, you can leave it below the video, but I first recommend go read the article that I linked to underneath the video. All right, I'll see you all on the Brink Zone.